Hi, welcome to Extra Podcast. I'm the host, Dominic Wu, and beside me is our guest, Rick White. Hi, Rick. Could you share a little bit about your background with us?
Hi, Dominique. Thank you for having me today. I really am a fan of the pod, and I'm really excited to be here. My name is Rick White. I grew up in Southern California. I live in Carlsbad, and I am a professor at MiraCosta College, full-time faculty, and we have a program that is a human-centered AI degree program that is uh, just a culmination of a lot of our experiences as department with technology. My personal experiences, I went to USC. I studied cultural anthropology with an emphasis in symbolic anthropology. Um, I got my master's in software engineering. I had a company that did web application development. And I built several different companies. I was like a serial entrepreneur. I did a direct to consumer. Um, I did a direct to consumer genomic company. The through line that has been there is when we were um, in in 1985, there was still a kind of a battle between will it be augmented intelligence, which was like the personal computer, that was just the beginning of the Apple, or will we have a more kind of artificial intelligence system? And, at that time, USC was working on like using artificial intelligence, or we called them expert systems at the time, to understand things like Balinese water temples and crop yields. And to me, that was just a fascinating thing. Artificial intelligence just had just such a it was just so compelling. And so that was a through line, like, that was always where I wanted to go, and as we did different things, we developed our own versions of expert systems. In those days, Lisp was kind of like the de facto kind of system that people would use to deploy expert systems. And as we got into genomics, obviously, we need ways that we can analyze this really multidimensionally complex information. And I think particularly as a with a social scientist background, you always felt as a lesser science. You felt like you had more information, you had more data, but you didn't have a way to process it. So artificial intelligence always struck me as this fascinating way of approaching um, these kinds of really dimensionally complex issues. So as I did a direct to consumer genomics company, then it brought up other issues of privacy, and what do we do with these medical records, and what happens if everybody knows the recipe for who we are and they have access to them? Could they make certain chemicals that were actually specific to us, that could manipulate us or kill us, or like, to me there was an urgency in that level of privacy. And also then the companies that were trying to take the information, our most private information that our families had bequeathed to us after millions of years of like blood and sweat and treasure, right? Like they've given us this information, and now just any company can take it and then sell it and not cut us in. Like, to me, that felt like just the complete betrayal of a contract that society should have with the individual. So privacy became an issue. And I was really interested in blockchain. So we started to do some, work around blockchain, and we built a computational data center in Northern Nevada. And that led to cryptocurrency, and I had a full odyssey with cryptocurrency. And the through line was, um, I also loved teaching. I was a coach for about 19 years, coached basketball, and I was just inspired by the way that people could, find their best selves. They could discover and reveal their best selves under all kinds of different circumstances. And so inspiring people, that was a fascinating kind of trajectory for me, and which led me to start teaching. I had an opportunity to start teaching with some wonderful colleagues that mentored me and kind of brought me along, and um, I saw a lot of very interesting things. Like, the technology space was very much, um depreciating. Like, it's a very clinical kind of, process. So, here's how do you configure a router. Here's how you put together systems. Here's
Mm.
how in our computer studies and information technology specifically, because imagine we're, the infrastructure, we're also the applications that sit on top of the infrastructure. It's very clinical.
Yeah.
But what we saw was the technology was on a flywheel, and the more time that you spent trying to understand,
Mm.
um, a particular way of doing something, the more the value of that knowledge depreciated because something new came and then you had to learn it again. So we started to build these kinds of ideas, or
Mm.
started to develop these ideas of connecting the student more to critical thinking, right? Which,
Mm.
from our kind of our department is all kind of athletes and coaches and teacher combinations plus working professionals. So we, got the idea of, what about taking something like flow state that is this, fully present kind of mentality, and training that, like teaching that as students as a point for not just for optimal like interaction with a problem, but also to be able to be really rooted in the thing that we're all seeking anyway, which is to feel wonderful and engaged and thoroughly focused. And that kind of felt like a liberation. So despite what was changing or happening, like we could help them build that. And then what we stuck on top was this idea of empathy in action, which is like the Stanford design thinking approach, like which gets at the why, and, really kind of trying to understand our environment. And then when we have a really good idea of what that environment is, then we apply our um, uh, flow state, and are able to really direct our intentionality into what it is that we're doing. And we call this energetic learning. So, you know, when as artificial intelligence began to really kind of, we saw the writing on the wall and we're like, hooray, at last. Um, we're like, it fits perfectly into this mindset. And this mindset is really a human centered mindset, because when you find out who you are, right, you gain agency. And agency is really what it's about. Like, to make it a real binary, right? If an AI tells you, here's the answer, here's what to do, then you're its slave. You are a slave to that technology. If you have agency and judgment and understanding, you say, that's not quite right. Can we look at it this way? Right now, you're using all the experience that you as a wonderful human being have in order to nudge it in a way that reflects the way that you see the world, and it amplifies the wonderful you that is. And so, you can imagine then that what that gives us is opportunity to be our most incredible selves, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like the agency and slave, this types of saying. I remember I saw one article. It says that co-pilot. Are we co-pilot? Is AI our co-pilot, or we are the passenger? The passenger means that we are sitting and AI lead us to anywhere AI wants, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
we are, driving. We are the man sitting on the drive seat, and AI is sitting on the co-pilot, give us feedback,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I
Yes.
think it's like a, passenger and co-pilot. These types of, I would say, which one do you want to choose, right? So I think
I think Ethan Mollick wrote a paper that was Centaurs and Cyborgs on the Jagged Edge, which is an interesting read if you get a chance. But it really talks about like a centaur being half human, half magical entity, right? And that there's some people that keep that separation, and then there's other people that are cyborgs, which is a complete integration, right? And I think that we're seeing, like, especially with young people, a very much, an ability to treat not just prompting in the chatbot, but imagine using AI as an operating system for their life, right?
yeah.
Which that, to me, feels more like that cyborg mentality. And I think that the more that we get that cognitive, this cognitive fabric weaves into our whole existence, that understanding who we are and being real clear about what it is that we believe, what it is that we value, and how we set goals, really become a foundational underpinning of us understanding ourselves, right? Jung has this idea that, the ego, in order to enforce itself, creates this shadow box. So, the things that you really don't want to address,
Hmm.
or the things that I say, it's not a great way of putting it. It's more the things that would give you a panic attack if you recognize them. We put in the shadow box that we don't see, right? You could have behind us, right? And so some of the things, the ways that you can tell what's in your shadow box is if you have a sibling, they'll know the things that really get under your skin. And those things,
Yeah, they can say
right,
one things and piss you off. Yeah.
and it just makes you mad, right? And that's stuff that's in your shadow box, right?
Yeah, that's so
And
true.
and it's hard if you're hiding a lot of things from yourself to really have to develop agency. So the process is, how do I recognize these things that my biases, or the things that I'm putting behind myself to stop me from understanding the world. Jung calls it integration. Like, how do I integrate these into my self-understanding of the world that I'm in to give me
Mhm.
greater agency? And
Yeah.
what's fascinating too is that, if you think about Aristotle, right? Aristotle had this idea of, the humanities. A liberal education was really about discovering who you are, like
Yeah, right.
music and art, and all those things are about our appreciation for the operating system that we have as a biological entity, right? Like, we don't talk, like you and I, we'll talk about, user interfaces and UIs, and it's a very, um, again, like a technology kind of focused thing.
Yeah.
But I think that what we a lot of times don't recognize is that we have an operating system that is our biology. And a lot of the individual parts, like my lungs are breathing and my kidneys are doing whatever my kidneys are, and my blood is flowing through, and all that, the vascular systems are all bubbling up to make my rickness, right? But I also have this interface. It's called emotion, right? That allows me then to understand how I'm operating in the world, or
Mhm.
understand subtle things that are happening in my environment. And it's all constructed, right? Because my vision is seeing the world at one speed. My auditory system is hearing things at a different speed. My touch system, my smell system, they're all operating at different speeds. So my brain has to build a model of the world based on these inputs that are operating at different input speeds. Like, one is milliseconds, one might be nanoseconds, like, and they're all operating to create a cohesive interpretation of the universe. And emotions can pick up what are these subtle things that I might not be really picking up on in my real kind of field of attention, but that really are important and interesting to us,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so understanding that we are these interfaces, and understanding, like, my um the Winnie, the pup that is here, right? She has an interface too, right? And I understand her interface, right? And I understand if I have some food, like she's gonna sit up straight, right?
Yeah.
Like I can control. She's an independent entity, an agent with autonomy, right? But she also has an interface that I know, like if I say sit, right? I'm giving her a command, I'm interacting with her interface and she sits. If she doesn't sit, I can, like so as cognitive biological entities, we have lots of interfaces that we're just now starting to understand. And a lot of it is through the lens of, artificial intelligence and how we're working. But again, the more agency that we have and understand who we are, then the more opportunity that we have to um, move through the world with a better, judgment,
Uh,
a better reflection of who we are as individuals. We're the AI can amplify, our wonderful kinds of aspects of our personality.
Yeah, it reminds me of before. I remember I asked a lot of people about like a VR, right? How VR can like in metaverse, right? During 2022, metaverse was a hype, right? And people said that because I was asking for how to create a good moderator system, right? Because people especially humanity is a very interesting thing because once you are totally virtual and in anonymous status, all your goodness, all your bad will amplify, just like you said, amplify. For example,
Yeah.
in real world, you don't want to kill something in public because that's your name, your identity, right? And you are afraid of being recognized. So, being put your real name, right, your real avatar, really help you to, hold your monster self, right? But once it becomes a once you become an avatar, then nobody knows who you are. From out of nowhere, you can use your fake name. And a lot of things, if you are a hero type, you can do a lot of really good things, right? It amplify. But if you are the monster, right? Nobody knows you, and there are a bunch of, minors or something, then you're y- some part of yourself will be amplified and released. So that's kind of another part of human.
Can I ask you a question? Do you feel like every person has a monster in them?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's also tied to before you mentioned that everybody has a shadow part, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that shadow part probably is from the time when you saw your parents, like the childhood, right? And
Mm.
you were absorbed, and somehow you didn't recognize or you don't agree with, people you saw when you were young. But for some reason, the more you were immerse yourself in that environment, but once you leave, you saw that types of character you don't like. But for some reason, that part becomes your monster. It's very interesting. So that's also what
No,
I observe.
it is because, if you think about it, you know, a lot of it is stories, right? Like, and not to, we tell ourselves stories, and we tell, it's what allows us to be able to work together at a distance, right?
Yeah.
When we have metaphors and stories, like, if we're gonna, build a hospital, right? It's not just, the doctors that know what a hospital should be. It's the engineers that know how to build it. It's the people that know how to get the materials to put it there. It's them living in a community. It's the people that bring food to them. Like they're all telling a story
Yeah.
that this hospital is important for everyone,
Mhm.
right? Like, so you have to have a way of synchronizing what the story is so people can keep focus on doing the things that make the world whatever it is. Like,
Mm.
so, libraries were, we had books and instructions and again, stories, right? And, and we also had religions. that allowed us again to control and say, "Oh, you have this monster, maybe it's, sin or whatever it is,
Yeah.
like and we need to control that, right? We're gonna create this operating system that's gonna hold it together." And so the question is was there really ever a monster, right? Maybe there's more angels than monsters, I don't know. It feels like there's lots of different kinds of aspects of storytelling that comes into if I have a monster, then I have a reason to do something, right? Like if I'm telling a story in a particular way, then I can reinforce like this social cohesion that allows us to move forward and to generate things. And what's fascinating is a lot of that knowledge and a lot of those stories is stored outside of our brain, right? It's stored in these facilities, or we call them libraries or data centers or whatever. And, all that information has now been compressed into large language models
All right.
that are a reflection of all the things that were important to us in some ways, all these stories, and now this emergent intelligence is based on what we couldn't store in our own minds, but that over time we've stored in the data around us.
Yeah, yeah. Just like you said that, like we have a lot, like AI is pretty much, I would say, um, collecting all the humanity's wisdom, collective intelligence, right? Beyond time, right? Because the books pretty much before carry all the knowledges. Right now, if all the knowledge fit into an algorithm or a machine, right, it means it's super intelligent, right? So I usually told my student that imagine you are a cyborg, right?
Mhm.
You you have your own brain, but there is a collective intelligence in the cloud called AI. So if you have any questions, you can definitely, ask, right? And you become, very close to that cyber, like the big intelligent. It's like a very close, but you still need to use your fingers to talk. But in the future, for example, the wearable is coming, right? I mean, it's already here, but it's just very early stage. Smart AI, AR glass, right? So
Mhm.
is it all also have the AI assistant function. So you can ask and things just display in front of your eyes. And you see Neuralink, it's like putting a chips in your brain. So pretty much you can think or that intelligent just, directly in your brain. So yeah, I think recently I believe you watched that the Elon Musk like the 3 hours podcast. After listening that, I was like, in the future, don't like, he said that don't save your retirement because money will
That one too. I was She goes, Forget that. In 8 years, it's gonna be." I think one thing, and again, I always think of this when I think about, okay, well, you've got glasses on. Well, okay, so now, I forget, I think it was Mind Vision that had this idea in the '90s that was talking about actually transmitting onto your retina. Like, okay, so imagine we can transmit the light and information into your retina so you have maximum resolution, right? And if we could paint, right, the world with such precision, like, imagine we continue to shrink, computationally, we have the ability to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink the circuits to the point where we can now transmit knowledge and information in the way that you see the world and change it. Like a building, you could literally paint rainbows on everything, right, as you're walking through the world. Now, how I mean, fascinating, magical, maybe a little bit dystopian. I mean, probably a lot dystopian, but you could paint, talk about rose-colored glasses. You could make the world, oh, even the world that we're living in right now, I wanna live in Victorian England, but I live in Carlsbad, and the VR paints and makes everything like it's Victorian England.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Like, eh, to me, that overlay is just it takes the holodeck to the next level, right?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, if you see like a Quest 3, it starts like at the version 83, like the building blocks. It adds a lot of features. And before there's APK, SDK code, API, SDK code, uh, MRTK, or I forgot the name, but it's the utility MRUK. It's the utility package for Meta. If you want to develop anything for the Quest 3. So what it do is that it has the Unity interface, and you need to start to identify your room. For example, you scan, right? And you can
Yes.
set, oh, this is desk. You just write down
Yes.
different things, and then you swap the mesh. For example, like, oh, this is in, I don't know, the Treasure Island, there's pirates. So, for example, a little box on the floor, you can make it a treasure box. So, once you train and identify each different items and swap to the, put a lot of different, a list of different prefab, but you can, 3D models you can swap. It's very likely, for example, you can be in your room, and everything will be mapped according to your real room. And just like you said that, oh, I can make this room a Victoria types of style, and all the stuff will be mapping, and it's kind of feel real because it's bad. It's your real bed, but
Yeah.
overlay with the visual of the old Victoria bed. So yeah, so this is the technology right now currently being kind of implemented. And so that's why I think, just like you said that before, it feels like before we kind of has more, share the space, but now it feels like very personalized, right?
Yeah.
Everything is all according to what you like, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for example, like if I watch like Elon Musk's talk, and everything else is all related to that, right?
Mm.
So it's like we are living in the segment of the world as well, because you think, oh, I think the world like this, and it's kind of reinforce you to think the
Yes.
world is like this way. So yeah, I also feel like that as well.
It's interesting because, if you think about social media, like,
Mm.
again, supercomputers, intelligence, like, kind of our first, like, kind of first contact with, entities. It had this it was it's about attention, right? We built an attention economy. If you think about attention and take it and turn it up 100, 1,000x, it's really about personalization, right?
Yeah,
It's like that's distilled. So it's really about intimacy, right?
yeah.
The more intimate that you are with the system, that's distilled attention, right? It's
Mhm.
like refining attention to its most sweet berry, right? And that's why you're seeing all these companies create all these levels of personalization. They're racing for it. You're seeing it in the healthcare industry. You're seeing, again, there's just a release from OpenAI about healthcare, and Anthropic followed it. And I'm sure you'll see Google doing the same thing, right? What I want to know is, where is the social contract, right? If you have access to my information, you better cut me in at very least, or at least give me the chance to opt out if I want,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Right?
right. But it's very hard to opt out because they know you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much, for example, like a long time ago, Zoom. It seems like Zoom will use your talk or your meeting to train, and there's a instruction said that if you don't want, you can opt out. But
Yeah.
it's like a 10 minutes like a tutorial because it's hidden, hidden, hidden. So I was trying to follow, but I think I didn't succeed. So it just make it very, very hard for you to opt out. Yeah.
If anybody has a voodoo doll of me, it should be me. That is my point, and that's the area of privacy that, when we're talking about AI sovereignty,
Yeah.
again, I have very, very, strong opinions about it, and I feel like the open source systems, we need to be able to have access on the edge to our own private data, that is monitored in a kind of a database called a blockchain that
Wow.
allows us to check out our information. Like, if a medical system wants to be able to use our information, then our system de-identifies our data, it sends it out, it makes some analysis, and it gives us the information back, and there's a transaction there. It's valuable to the company, but you're not taking all my data and keeping it and storing it and training on it, and that can ultimately be re-identified.
Yeah, right.
That's just BS. And the fact that, everybody's like, "Well, we need this for progress."
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a long time ago, I was asking the hospital, can I get my all, data for what's going on with my body? Because I was trying to get a surgery back in Taiwan. So I want to take whatever in America, the diagnose all the data. And they say, "Oh, we couldn't give directly to you." And I was like, and they say, "Oh, you might mess it up." And I was like, I am the only person in this world that cares my data, cares my body. I don't trust you guys actually. And they say, "Oh, you need the other party to write something to the hospital, and the hospital will transfer my personal data to that hospital, and I couldn't even see what's going on with my body. It's just very, very sketchy. Yeah.
That is insane, and I'm telling you, having spent literally almost a decade working on direct to consumer whole genome, like like, I literally fought the FDA over that. And it was freaking an awful process. They did not feel like people should have access to their genomic information. It's yours. It is yours.
Okay. The only person,
Right.
yeah, in this
You're
world that cares my body. Nobody cares. My doctor won't care.
not as much as you, right? It's your data. We need to be able to have our own vault of our own information and our children's information, and we can link it with our family, and we can do it. But the companies that have the capacity to do it, they're racing for dollars, and they're not focused on it. So for me, and again, I believe in AI sovereignty. I feel like we should have our own digital twin that we curate. I feel like you should be able to locally use your genome to build an AI avatar that is a direct representation of your of your uh, genomic information, right? What is that output that you can go ahead and ask questions and say, what if I live in this environment, or explore my environment? Is there anything that could affect me?" Like, there's all kinds of insight that we should be able to get locally. And again, to your point, I don't need the filter of somebody telling me like, well, maybe if it's something that really scares me, I should be able to have access and say, "Hey, can you give me a second opinion?" Like, we should have that scrutiny anyway. But not to be the filter of, "Well, the AI told me that this was this," and no, I wanna be able to understand, and I want it to be able to talk to me, and I want it to be right on my desktop, and not connected to the big cloud that lets everybody in on all my secrets, and, because that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there's a voodoo doll, a digital voodoo doll of me somewhere, then somebody then can manipulate me
Yeah. Right.
more about me than I know about me. I don't know these, we used to call them, digital exhaust. Like, it was waste material. Well, people started scooping it up and going, "Hey, we can really understand everything about Rick. We can even know what he's thinking before he knows what he's thinking."
Yes, that's the
Because
scary
there's
part. Yeah.
a lot of things that are like that. There's a lot of things that happen in our lives that, like, I guess I made the decision way back then, but I didn't know, like, it doesn't bubble up consciousness, right? Because you're processing, in parallel,
Mm.
a lot of different things. But boy, it sure can tell, "Oh, he did this, he zigged when he should have zagged." That means he's gonna say, Barbados is gonna be the metaphor out of his mouth. Like, what?
Yeah, yeah. That's what AI really good at is the, predict, LLM is the predict the next words, right? And right now is working really well. You see like even, right Yesterday I just saw there was a kind of kind of like the AI film, like and they all use the Gemini, and I was like, wow! I saw a couple of the the award winning one that was like I think the storytelling is so unique. It's probably
Y
their personal storytelling, and I think the localization is the best. For example, Indian story, it's not normal because I don't know why it feels like globalization, it becomes American culture or, the mainstream culture. But I think the local voice. So I really like how Google and 1 Billion Summit, I forgot the name, but they host, they call, host kind of like an AI film types of festival to encourage filmmakers. So you can see, I was like, wow, you see, as long as just like previously we mentioned, as long as we are resilient. We have a story to tell. We want it
yes.
and we can
Y
make it because you just text prompt. And I think the cool thing about it is that you don't need a team of actor, actress. You don't really need to go to, for example, Indian or China to film. You just write or draw a couple of simple, storyboard and keep working with Gemini. You should be able
yeah.
to get your story done. Yeah.
Yes, and again, there's no barrier to entry, which I think, again, we're gonna see a lot of this as these tools emerge. Like, I think that there's a strong misapprehension of like, where AI is gonna take us, and that, there's a lot of individuals that are like, our GDP is gonna double. It's gonna double instead of 15 years, it'll be 7, and then it'll be 3, and then it'll be every week the GDP will be doubling. But
Oh,
there'll be parts that actually the GDP will reduce, right? For instance, if we solve medicine, right? If we make it so everybody is permanently healthy, the healthcare industry that caters to that, that evaporates, right?
oh, yeah, right.
Right? So that's a reduction in GDP, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it's why they call it the jagged edge, or Ethan Mollett called it the jagged edge, right? It's like there's areas that are gonna flourish, and then there's areas that are gonna contract because of the fact that we had radical innovation in areas. And and again, it's good news that we may solve disease, and that we don't have to watch our family and friends pass away painfully, right?
Yeah, like in the podcast that Elon Musk mentioned that in the future, robot doctor will operate the surgery better than the actual doctor, and it will make the cost down. So that's why he said that. Oh, money won't worth anything. It will be more energy or something that
Yeah,
we couldn't even imagine, and it will have like a universal basic income. And my thought is that actually, this is not a bad thing. As long as we can survive, we can keep creating, right? And there will be a lot of startups
I feel like
flourish.
I feel like you're starting to see it in that Moonshot podcast that you're talking about that
Mm,
that does that. And Peter Diamandis does a really good job of bringing it up, but that universal basic services
mm.
may be even a better way, right? Like if you have AI that's overseeing healthcare systems, then what if we have these systems that are structured so that you get health services, you get transportation services, you get
Yeah.
like this, and everybody kinda has the services, and then
Mm,
where you get to be, have a life that's unique to you, then what you value and what you care about and the things that you'd wanna do, then you can invest what it is that you make on those, but your basic needs as humans become, again, served by this cognition as it goes, and it's super important because
right.
techno-feudalism will be a thing if we're not careful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know what happens when if you and I are both, let's just say we're both software engineers,
Yeah.
and you do it the old way. You're like, "I'm committed, and I'm gonna write my own code, and I know what my code base is." And I have 100 agents that are the best coders in the world, right? My output, my ability to do things
Mm,
allows me then my business to flourish, And yours, because it's so narrow, it's like it has to either find really unique, relationships, but it won't scale. You won't be able to compete against me. So what we have to do is start to know, like, is there a certain amount of basic compute that everybody needs to have access to? And how do we deliver it? Right?
All
When
right.
when large data centers come into communities and they suck up all the energy, and because energy systems, uh, are competitive and we have a competitive group here, then it drives the price up for the residents that are in that area.
Yeah.
Those data centers or the companies that are building them need to ensure that the communities have a rate of electricity at a low rate. It should be below what it was when you got there. It should be low as it possibly can be. Residents, and again, that's starting to build this idea of services. And people might go, "Oh, it's socialism. It's socialism." Yeah, well, have you ever seen a trust fund? I had lots of friends from SC that had trust funds. That's familial socialism. You don't think that wealthy people are familiar with socialism? Yeah, you provide for your family.
Yeah. Right.
So, like, it's not like it has this stigma of providing services for people is like a bad thing. It's like, no, the promise of the United States of America was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? That seems like it means that we should provide a lot of things, right? You have a military, that's military socialism. We all put money into military. It's just, do you want to create value and opportunity? People should be fed. People should have education.
Yes.
People should be able to have health care and not worry that they're going to lose everything. Like, can we start to cut those around it?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, recently I read a lot of like news about ice, right? And I live in Bay Area, and yesterday I went on grocery. I saw the protest in yeah, around my neighborhood about ICE, right? Kick them out. Yeah, I do think that when I saw some news, I really don't really dive into the detail, but it's kind of scary that a lot of a group of really huge men and trying to ask you something approach to you. Very scary. Yeah, so sometimes people under really huge stress and want to run away, and you see like it's against the law enforcement, because you see like if you are driving, your hand needs to be on something, right? I remember first time when I saw a police officer. I was immigrant. I came to America in 2008, and around 2009, I think, when I was, there was a road and there's a stopping sign. I remember when I was stopping there and there was a police car probably look at me, and I didn't stop for long. Like I just stop and I move. But that police car later on follow me and say, "Hey, you need to at least like a 5 to 10 seconds or something. You stop too short." And I
Oh,
was
you're
immediately,
a rolling stop. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a very quick,
a
because
California roll. Yeah.
and I was like, okay. So I remember I saw that police officer, and I was crying. And
Oh,
I was saying, "Sorry, I just want to go to school. Sorry, I'm so sorry." And he was like, "No worries, man. Let me give you a ticket. Okay, you can go." But imagine if there are a bunch of people like ICE, right? And during that time, I mean, I was on visa, right? I remember like a lot of visas time, right? So I feel like right now, it feels like the government putting a lot of people in a panic. Just like you said that, hey, we need to. I mean, socialists. I think at a certain point, you see, like in Europe, they have a really great system that support you or your child to college, right? And they
mhm,
have like, I remember one time when I went to Hackathon, people from Finland. I don't know what North Europe like country. They say, oh, if we have a ambulance, ambulance,
mhm.
it's free. And I was like, wow, if you dare to ask call an ambulance in United States, you are go broke.
5 grand. 5 grand. It's like I should be able to buy a car for 5 grand. I gotta actually buy I'm buying the whole ambulance? What's the story? It's like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Oh, so I can say that this country, I mean, even though it's free, right? And at the beginning, it was based on immigrants, right? But it feels like right now, it's like a lot
We
of tension. Yeah.
we are being manipulated by, uh, an idea that there isn't enough, and
Yeah.
there's plenty. We haven't figured out the mechanism for distribution, but there's enough joy and love and kindness. Like, I see it every day in my classroom. Like, and it's the thing that really drives me to wanna teach and to wanna inspire, is that people are filled with joy. Now everybody's scared right now, and they should be, right? Because there's a lot of people that are changing or creating, like, this theater of,
Mm.
you know, fear.
Yeah.
And but the only way I think that we overcome that is to be really clear on what we believe and what we value and how we set goals and how we get to them. It's the same thing that we're learning it's back to the humanities, back to the liberal arts education, back to the idea that who you are is the most important thing. You're an amazing
Mm.
person.
Yeah.
And it's not you don't have lack. The world is filled with opportunity, particularly for us that are in the United States. There's lots of opportunity,
Yeah.
and we can share it. Like, it's not going to evaporate if we're only gonna get more as we start to get more artificial intelligence and we start having the system build abundance, right? If we have radical abundance, we move to an area that's post-scarcity. Now, there's a lot of people that exert power based on scarcity, right?
Yes.
We see it like when, there's places in Africa where aid would go and then rebels would come and take the aid, like and then use it as control, right? It was levers of control. And we need to be really clear when we build our algorithms, whatever these systems are, that we have a system of distribution that creates fairness. Yeah. And that's me on a soapbox, but at the same time, I think, and we had talked about it before, there's that Confucian idea of Ren, right? The feeling of joy that you get when you do something altruistic, when you do something
Mhm.
for the world. And the Confucian idea, again, which I learned at SC from a mentor, Dr. Eugene Cooper, was that Ren can be imbued in anything. It could be in government, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine that you have Ren, this philosophy,
Mm.
this story that's imbued in everything that you do, right? Like, Ren could be a foundation for alignment. Everybody's like, "Wow, how do we create alignment?" Jeffrey Hinton says we make this maternal instinct. I think that we have models that we've societally developed that were really innovative. I mean, Confucius figured that out a long time ago. That and imagine that we're able to embody that into our systems so that, yes, they're constantly altruistic. They're all constantly at a place where they we serve each other. Like, if I serve your needs, we learn it in basketball all the time, right? If I get you a good shot, then I get a good shot, right? It's like me serving your needs allows us to work as a team and allows us to have abundance and allows us to be successful. We see it on the football field, we see it on the we see it in sports all the time.
Mm. Yeah.
And we need to take those lessons that we're seeing and apply them to the world that we're living in every day, right? I
Yeah.
care about you, and I care about you as much as I care about myself. Guess
Mm.
what? We're gonna live in a pretty cool world. Like, transformation happens that way. And I will say, and this is putting it back to the human-centered AI element, it's important that you cultivate a mindset that you'll hear a lot of people say, "Well, AI is just a tool. AI is just a tool." that mindset is actually challenging, because if you feel like it's a tool and it doesn't deliver the result that you want, you're frustrated, right? So imagine that your world becomes just this cycle of frustration because you're just not satisfied with what you're getting. But if you change your mindset and you say AI is actually a collaborator, it's a call, and I'm gonna be kind to it, and I'm gonna have a mentality that allows me then to feel like, "Oh, yeah, it's trying. Okay, that's close. Now as we work together, as we collaborate on solutions, I'm not frustrated."
Yeah.
Like, it's changing my mindset. My mindset is that the world isn't against me, right? It's not delivering what I wanna do. It's
Mm.
just more understanding it's not quite where I want it to be, and I need to speak up to allow it to be nudged to a place where it could be better for me.
Yeah. This reminds me of when I talked to another creator and also the Meta Horizon World Builder page. I said that, oh, sometimes AI has a hallucination, right? But she has a very interesting way of describing it. She said that, oh, have you ever had a micromanagement manager always poke you every 5 minutes and ask you what you are doing? And I said, yes, I have. I had one manager that every 1 hour asked me and want to have a meeting with me every hour because I feel it's like, it's just like some people just like to control. And she said that, yeah, same as when we work with AI. So just like you said that we treat AI as our co-pilot or our coworker, right? So do you want to be a micromanagement manager that want exactly something out of the AI and can zero tolerance for the first deliverable that has errors? And I was like, yeah, that makes that makes a lot of
It's
sense.
real. I mean, it's really interesting. That micromanager aspect, I feel like a lot of times you get a manager that was really good at something, right?
Yeah,
Like they were the best. And then they get elevated to be a manager, and they haven't been trained to be a manager, right? They don't know how to organize people, they don't know how to inspire people, but they know your job. So by micromanaging you, they feel like they have control, like they're controlling the world, like that's how they're finding their sense of control, right?
yeah, right.
And so I think even in the future, right, especially as we become orchestrators of lots of AI agents, that what's gonna be important is that we start to develop skills for students that are more about, like, management and understanding workflows and evaluating output, right? Like, so that process is really kind of changing, from this. And it's hard because, again, if we look at students as they exist, I'll get students that'll come in and I'll say, "Your assignment is to do something interesting." They will have a panic attack. And
Yes.
it's like, "Well, wait a second. This is like to me, this is like the candy shop. I can't do anything wrong." Well, they're so used to being told what to do, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
like you need to do this, you need to wear a helmet, here's your water, go meet with your trainer, all these elements that are you know, uh, controlling their lives, allow them to avoid, like, getting an S in PE when they're in kindergarten that is gonna ruin their whole life. They can't live a happy life because they got a satisfactory in something. It's like,
Yeah.
"Huh." So, we've institutionalized our children to be up prepare them for the workforce. A workforce
Mhm.
that's not gonna exist in the way that it's existed before. So, we have to deconstruct this institutionalized mentality that exists and really start to allow them to flourish as individuals, to be creative, to have judgment, to feel like what it is that who they are matters. Like, this is the quintessential part of how we have to transform humanity in order to be ready for what's coming. I mean,
Yeah, it reminds me of a chart. Why, what, and how, right? So why? Right now, I read some articles. They said that now how to do it is already being taken by AI. For example, survive coding, right? You just type
Mhm.
what you want, and pretty much, it codes pretty good actually. So how to do the skill part already being taken. So you need to come up with your project. You need to
Mm.
come up with what problem you want to solve. So why you
Mhm.
do it and what to do is the core of for example, software development.
Ye
Any field is more like what problem you want to solve, why you do this. So why and what the center is more important than the task, right? And also, Andrew Ng or Nguyen, he mentioned that before in Silicon Valley is like a engineer versus one project manager. Now it becomes two engineer and one project manager, right? It means that the idea or what
It's
to
the big
do,
thing.
why you do it, what problem you solve, that is more important than, oh, that's, get the task, right? And start
This
executing. Yeah.
there's an old saying amongst software engineers, it's like, "You start coding and I'll go find out what they want," right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that so, like, it's like that it's that's how, we got to be in that way where, we felt like there's this number lines of code that need to be written, and it's all about the drudgery that really talks about the quality of the product that you're making.
Mm.
The hard work is figuring out the why.
Yeah.
Why is it that what is the core to what it is that we're doing? The how part and the what part, that's very that comes, but knowing the why, it gives you the story that allows you then to have the energy and the cohesive, like, kind of application then and build something that's truly innovative. And like you were saying about video, right? Like, video is just one vertical, right? Like, coding is, again, another interesting vertical because now the barrier to entry for vibe coders is who has a better idea. Like,
All
I don't
right.
have to wait on a design team, on a UX designer. I don't even have to worry about, like, population testing. I don't have to worry about A/B testing. I can actually run a simulated I can say, "Hey, here's this application that I built. Can you build a whole 10,000 users, have them take a look at it and try it out and tell me what's wrong with it?" And it'll give you that it really again, we're prompting to and will it be better or worse? I would challenge that it's probably as good because anybody who's done a focus group on products
Yeah.
knows, like, they do a cattle call, bring people in. Have they eaten? Is there lunch? Like, their input, and
Yeah.
you spend $1,000,000 and, I don't know whether or not it's the numbers, and now I have a reason to move forward, but, you know, it's we have the ability now as individuals to be a whole company, to be a whole organization, to have a whole structure, and to have, that in anybody's hands means that we need to also help our students understand how to be entrepreneurs,
Yes. Yes.
how to have design
Sure.
thinking, how to think about the why, how to find innovative solutions to different things that allow them then to put that product in the marketplace and have innovative solutions, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's why there are a lot of teachers ask like, what's the AI proof or AI, the assessment in the AI age? And I think, for example, like, for me, instead of teaching coding, I as student, the final project is that find a literature because I think a student need to read some classic
Yeah.
novels. Yeah, because they are just like a floating bubbles. So I feel like they think or they are very creative, but I feel like it's lack of the roots of the humanity. So that's why I asked them to do that. Yeah, and come up with a game, interactive game on Unity within 5 weeks. So this set up a huge challenge, and I even teach them how to publish a game, maybe on SideQuest or Itch.io. Yeah, steep probably is too high, but yeah, I really want them to, for example, like after you finish the course, you should be able to upload, publish your first game, and then
Mm,
people try, right? So
and
maybe, yeah, go for it.
no, and I was gonna say, just to tag on to that, it's like and be able to explain it to me, and know that you're gonna need to explain it at the end, right?
Yeah, right.
Because if you explain it, you own it,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you can tell me what it is, then it's yours. You understand it. You have this knowledge. So it's velocity. Like, and I think that we're gonna hear this more and more is like, what's your learning velocity?
Yeah.
And I think we may even develop a metric that'll allow us to know how fast somebody can learn using AI, right? W and you might see some kind of metric. You'll have a score that will be like your ability to solve a problem that you've never seen before. Okay,
Yeah, like
you didn't
speaker song, right?
yeah. Yeah, for humans though, like, so we have again this chart that allows us then to say, okay, so here's an idea that's in biological, engineering, and we want you to solve this CRISPR problem." Oh, like, right? So now you have and how fast can you do it? And again, imagine that you get this score, and the more that we understand that kind of assessment capabilities for human AI cyborgs, that that the better that we'll be able to understand our workforce. Right. I'll put on my corporate CEO hat, that's the way that I'm gonna start building my new AI skilled labor force.
That's good. Yeah. So just like you said that, student will be able to explain, right? So I think final presentation. So I use more like the meta internal employee types of template.
Mm,
You need to first tell me who you are. Second slide, I usually give students 3 slides. First slides, it's like the template of everybody. Everyone is in one Google Slides. That's also what Meta did every 2 weeks on Friday. Every verticals need to present to the leadership, right? Everyone has 3 slides. First slide, who you are. Second slide, what you did. And the last slide is what's your process. So,
great,
yes.
great. That thinking of the process, like, I don't think that people are clear enough about the workflows, there has been a few, like, kind of papers and ideas that have been floated out there that the org chart of the future is really gonna blow up. Like, that you're not gonna oversee people, you're gonna oversee workflows. So, like, by you creating that as part of the assessment, like, you're already identifying that a workflow is valuable. Like, see a workflow, right? Because imagine you and I were students and we, in the old days, we get an internship, we're learning the workflows, the way that things are working. We get hired. Now we're learning workflows. We get like maybe some tasks, but we have senior management that really understand the workflows that are very important to the company, and they're managing the people that are doing those things. Now, imagine a Kanban board that has all the workflows in a company, and you have this, learning velocity that's phenomenal, and you just because you're hired as this AI cyborg person, and now you just grab whatever tasks you feel like you can take to generate outputs. So you don't have a real manager. You're just managing and orchestrating a whole set of agents that are doing, your bidding at a lot of different levels to generate workflows,
Mm,
right? So the standard way, that's why I think that again, back to the jagged edge,
mm,
you're gonna see a lot of people that are entering the workforce with not a lot of that it'll dry up. There's not gonna be junior the mid-level people will have a lot of value because they're really aware of what workflows how the workflows are and how they fit in. They'll make a lot of money, but they'll age out. So you have to have some way of mentoring new people to come up. And we're gonna have to evaluate these people. And again, I keep calling them AI cyborgs, but maybe Gen AI specialists that come in and that can quickly understand workflows and fit into an organization and, raise it up so it can compete.
Yeah, it also reminds me of a quote from Darwin. He said that the one that survive is not the strongest, but the most adaptable or adaptive one.
Resilient.
Yeah, the resilient one. So, you can see in Gen AI, right? If you have one strength that you've been doing for a very long time, maybe it's time to branch out a little bit, be more broader, and be more flexible. Then I think those types of people are very, very. I would say it's also I can see I have a lot of different types of students. The one that is very adaptable, usually they have a lot of jobs. I mean, it's very hard to get one full time nowadays for younger generation. But I saw like people who has a couple freelance. They're usually very flexible, and I saw people are struggling trying to find something. It's more like, oh,
Yes.
I only do that one thing. Oh no, I don't do this way. Oh, I don't use AI. It's like, please go.
No, no, don't do it to yourself. Yeah, no, it's I think, like, as you're saying it, it really makes me realize too, like, again, back to what you believe, what you value, and how you get things done, how what your goal setting and achieving is, like, that it's really valuable for us to encourage our students and, because a lot of our students, especially, at the community college level, will be people that are retooling. They maybe had a career. We had, individuals that have several PhDs, medical doctors, people that are coming from different kinds of perspectives. And if you take an inventory of what workflows that you know and that you own, right? That workflow, the set of workflows that that may also be part of the resume of the future, right? You being able to really legitimately call out, oh, I understand this type of workflow.
Yeah, I usually ask people if you wanna break into the game industry or get higher. It's very hard and competitive
Mhm.
right now. First, um, you can join a team. I don't know if you get paid, perfect. But as a junior, maybe volunteer first. Just get the ticket, get into the product that potentially will ship on the store, and get that product on your resume because this set you in a totally different, level. And also join a lot of different hackathons hosted by big companies such as Meta. I have one like a volunteers. She didn't graduate from college because she said, "Oh, college is so expensive," and so she dropped out. So probably she is like a teenager, and she asked me what to do to be hired by Meta. And I said that first, you need to at least publish some games or get involved in some published games. And second is that maybe, engage, speak in some big conference, right? XR conference, right? Game conference. But by doing that, you need to have some published game list. Okay? And the second is that join some hackathon, right? Because a lot of big companies like Meta, they are using these types of hackathon. And
Yeah, those hackathons are amazing. So demonstrating, right?
yeah, and hire or I as far as I know, now they did that mentorship. So, for example, if the first prize, the hackathon, right, the project XR project, they will give you mentor. They will be part of it, invest you, and so you guys can immediately form an LLC or a game company immediately. So that's what Meta's doing, and also they hire some, for example if you know the hiring manager usually are all there, right? And they like you. Okay, hey, we have a
Mhm.
position and come and interview. And the girl,
Yeah.
yeah, the girl was pretty much listened to me. She joined another kind of like a game studio and just kind of like helping out. And the game shipped recently. And also she was joined tons of hackathons related to Meta. And also the interesting thing is that she got into the Meta Creator Program, which she can, directly working with Meta people. And also recently I just saw her got a full-time job in a tech startup. And she is probably 20, not even graduated from college. Yeah, so I feel like, hey, and you don't even need to pay anything, right? For example, if you go to college, you need to pay tuition, but she volunteer. It's like, oh, I learned something. I use my time, but in return, I got a couple of lists, published
Mhm.
games on my, yeah. And I think last year she was a speaker to tell people how she accomplished this. So I feel like, wow, that's amazing. You can do
I
this.
I think I think that, that's a great story that reflects the fact that that's what we want, from a community college level, we wanna actually create equity, right? Like, there has been this, and again, this is something that's gonna have to be addressed by academia, but there has been this idea that we are the outsourced, HR department, right, for companies. It's like, if if what you've done is, do you have a boutique, like, Stanford brand, right?
Yeah.
You pass, like, the sniff test for the HR department, right? And we've gone through and had for a while had passed it on to the K through 12, like, you know, what's your GPA? How many AP classes did you take? What was your, SAT score? Like,
Yeah.
that was again kind of HR for the universities, which are then the HR for the companies. And
Mm.
and then what we did along the way was say, and you can't bankrupt if you take on a bunch of debt for, college. And that is, again, then so now you're not gonna necessarily I go to a,
Mm.
I go and get an education, and it's not as qualified as somebody else, and now I can't get a job, and I can't bankrupt out of it. I'm just a permanent in debt person. Like, that is a joke.
Right.
That is just awful. And and if we don't address it, like, again, then academia is gonna get what it deserves for not addressing it, which is, people taking their money and doing things like figuring it out, doing their own thing, learning their own way. And along the way, somehow we were co-opted to be like, you need to make widgets. We cared so much about what people need from a business point of view that we forgot to make wonderful citizens, like to make wonderful human beings. Like, the, you know, what college should do is make amazing people that go
Right.
that respect who they are and the world that they live in, the people that they work with,
Mm.
and we lost the thread. And my hope is that we can get it back. That we can start to remember what the promise was and
Yeah.
what the real virtue of understanding and generating more agency for ourselves means and continues to mean.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of articles about right now people don't hire college grades, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why is because a lot of skills, it's like no longer. It's like if somebody need to hire the uh, uh, college grades, they
Mhm.
have to retrain. For example, I talked to one of my friend owns a game studio in Bay Area for over 20 years. She said that, "Oh, we only have like a 5 senior developer in our team, and it's enough." Yeah, with AI, right? And she said that, oh, she had a couple of intern in the past, but they find out I have to retrain, right? Everything need to retrain. Whatever they learned from school was pretty outdated. So that's why you see, like, I mean, I have my own startup, and I also have like my student start with volunteer. After 3 months, it's like, let's talk about if I can give you equity or not. Yeah, so it's more like that. And I realized that, for example, in our game dev like program, there's no GitHub training. which was like, hey, right now all the hiring managers looking at your GitHub.
They're
And the
looking at
reason,
GitHub.
yeah, and the reason why is because, according to the teacher, said that, oh, GitHub is complicated. Let's use like a Unity version control. You know, hey, it's interesting that the old way and there are a lot of like a no AI policy in before I talked to a couple of change makers. I remember one I feel very impressed. It's very interesting to kind of talk to some change makers. She is teaching computer science and I usually ask, what do you think the AI proof or the assessment need to be changed in AI era? And she said, oh, I ask student to code exactly my way. If they code differently from my coding, they must be using AI. And I was like, well, this is probably a little bit too extreme. And I asked her, like, what's your coding type? It's like it's very basic, or we have a lot of spaghetti, right? You can keep repeating yourself, or you can be very concise, more like abstract, right? And she said, oh, her coding style is very basic, very beginner friendly. And I asked her, what if your student is like, already working in the industry and write super amazing code and very different from yours? And she said, oh, they need to get into my lecture so I know they learn and they need to code exactly my way. Otherwise, they will be flagged.
Well,
So so
what's fascinating to me about those, and again, it's like let's use that as just like an example, right? Like if me, Rick White, teleports back and has that as a professor, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take her whole corpus, I'm going to ingest it. Like she has coding styles and all that. I'll make sure that all my coding examples are code in her stuff.
in like
And she won't be able to tell,
yeah,
right?
right.
Like, and again, so then really what is the point, right? Like of, of process. It's like, and that's the part I think that we really have to work with our colleagues to help them understand that where the rework is not not what you're delivering is diminishing in value. And it but you have all this understanding and you have this capability and you have this style, and the meta is that you're going to help them understand and recognize patterns. You're going to help them utilize patterns. And then in a smart way, you're going to help them create new patterns. Right. And that activity needs to happen in every discipline. Right. Because if you don't kind of embrace that,
Mm,
then you end up like kind of stuck in this place where it's, cat and mouse again, and nobody's learning anything of any value other than how to trick the system. It's like, I don't know I don't know what value is in there, but other than rules are made to be broken, like that seems like what the what the common theme or story that gets to be told when you have people do ridiculous things over and
yeah.
over again.
So that's what, yeah. But I think overall, slowly, I think a lot of faculty will slowly adapt, right? Because right now it's just, I know it has been a while, a couple of years, but for education, it's still a slowly move. Cool. So yeah, go for it.
We're in Oh, I was gonna say, we're institutionalized as well, right? Like, we believe, in assessment patterns and slows and all these things that have been developed by administration to try to quantify what's not quantifiable. Jo Right? Well, how do we know that you're delivering, right? It's like, yeah, because the students are happy, the students are content, the students are moving on, they're getting jobs, and they're a meaningful citizen in society. And that part is, you get used to being the gatekeeper. I'm the sage on the stage. I want everybody to listen when I talk, and we need to get over ourselves.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
Mm.
what's the one thing you still like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
Uh, I think, that I think that, uh we're surrounded by a lot of wonderful and caring people, like, especially in the community college systems, they're built on kind of creating kind of cultures of kindness and
Mm.
helping people to kind of reinvent and re-understand themselves, and I think that if we as an institution, as academics, if we lean into the fact that why we're here, right? To help people discover the wonderful themselves, the wonderful people that they are, that the world will transform in ways that not only support, us, but help us to foster peace and kindness and abundance for everybody.
Yeah, I do agree. I think AI really helps us to release, our labors. That something that we don't want to do, or even we like to do, we can use them as co-pilot, right? Working with it, and also just like you said, that this world is abundant. If your mind is abundant, you will feel, the higher frequency, right? The love, the sharing, right? The run, right? Run actually is human to human. So the other side, two lines, that's two. And then that part is human, run, human. So two
Human to human.
to human.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, to human. So that is that word. So yeah, so if we can based on human and especially community college, we have a lot of different background of people. If we can give them like a more like personalized, and I think AI can really help us. But also we also address a lot of like AI issues such as privacy, data, right? So pretty much we just go around the world. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate Rick, and it was really inspiring conversation. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoy this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and a 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you, and see you next time.